seeing if we can continue to play on.
We're going to start in the back and the middle.
Jeff Borzello, ESPN. Tommy, what did you see from Caleb Love at Carolina that made you want to recruit him out of the portal? And then how has he grown as a player and a person since getting to Tucson?
I thought you said we're keeping the noise down in here with Jeff Borzello. I'm joking. Sorry, Jeff. You know, it happened really fast, to be honest with you. And, you know, we were at a position, you know, I liked our pieces coming back, but I just felt like we needed an influx of scoring and shooting. And, you know, I talked to Caleb initially, you know, and then a couple of days later he committed to Michigan. And it was just, I think it was just a cordial phone call. It was nice. And then obviously, you know, something happened with admissions at Michigan, and so an opportunity popped up, and we had a lot more clarity of what we needed. And, you know, Coach Rob, you know, had recruited him at Carolina, so there was a relationship there. And so, you know, we jumped on a few phone calls, and it went good, and we thought it was going to be a fit on both sides. And I remember, I thought it was such a good fit, I thought he was going to commit without visiting, because I was down in Puerto Vallarta on vacation. You know, it was a tough ending to the second season, and so my son and I were kind of down there a few days ahead of my wife and our daughters, because they were finishing up school. And, you know, obviously family vacations in our business are a big deal. And I remember talking to the Love family, and there was like 2 days they could visit, and it was like right in the middle of the vacation. And I'm like, hey, you know, I mean, I am down in Mexico on vacation with my family, you know, but, you know, there's an opportunity for you guys to visit if you want. And I'm thinking that, hey, no, you're good. We're going to come. Oh, we'd love to visit. So my wife flew down, and right when she landed, I said, hey, I'm going back to Tucson for another day. So it was a pretty funny story, but it was an awesome trip. We went back, had a great visit with them, and he committed. And listen, it's been an awesome experience. You know, I know a lot of people want to talk about Caleb, and you know, I'm obviously more focused on the team all the time, and I understand why they want to talk to him, because it's an interesting story. It's been an awesome experience, and it's something I would do 100 times over again. And I think if I do it again, I could even do it better and help him out more. He's an awesome person. I have not seen many 22, 23-year-olds that have had to endure what he's had to endure in his life. And you know what? He continues to show up every day. And I've never had a bad experience with him with attitude, body language, talking back, anything like that. So that's the real Caleb Love. I get to know the real Caleb Love. You guys, you know a perception of what Caleb Love and what you see on the court. And, you know, I think a lot of the assessments of him are unfair, but you know, that's the reality he has to live, and he's handled it really well.
We'll stay in that back row.
Michael Cohen, Fox Sports. Tommy, you've had a long line of international players find success in your program. When you look overseas, what are some of the traits that you're looking for and trying to figure out if they can adapt properly to the United States, the basketball here, and what have they brought to your program?
Well, obviously you're looking for, you know, talent and you know, good character, those two things. And then it's what you said. You got to figure out if their game's going to translate or be developable over here, and you know, and not all of them are. And I've had a lot of international players, and it's worked out for a lot of them, and a few it hasn't. You know, I mean, it's not like I've batted 1,000 on it. And so I just always think it's fun. I think it's a global game. I think it's fun to add that mix into your locker room and have a really diverse, you know, culture within your team. I think, you know, strength always lies in diversity. And so, you know, I want to create a locker room that has, you know, a lot of diversity. And I think it's a ton of fun. And I think those kids overseas are learning a good style of basketball. I mean, if you look at the NBA right now, I don't know the percentage of players that are international. It's really high. It's normal. So to me, what I do is normal. I mean, I'm not looking at it like I'm not a specialist. I'm building normal basketball rosters for high-level teams, and that's how I always look at it.
We'll stay in the back there, and then we'll come to the other side. Yep, back here.
John Fanta, Fox Sports. Tommy, a lot of coaches will say about this tournament, the key to making that run is to keep making the tournament, and then it will happen at some point with a certain team. For you guys, you sort of said last weekend, we can thrive in chaos, that there's that nature to our group. How do you balance your group's explosiveness, all the different things that you're capable of, while also keeping the hand on the steering wheel at the same time?
I mean, I think the way we play is comfortable for us because it's how we practice every day. We're not trying to be a perfect team. I'm not trying to be a perfect coach. But we want to accumulate as many good things as possible. And I think the only way you accumulate as many good things as possible is you got to be aggressive. And when you're aggressive, you're going to make some mistakes sometimes, but you got to keep coming. That doesn't mean that we're not like trying to fine tune things or, hey, that might be a little too tough of a play or too tough of a pass. I mean, to be honest with you guys, I'm not a highlight guy at all. Like, I don't even sometimes realize okay, that was a dunk or okay, that was 2 points in my mind. We're going back to the other end. But I also understand that our players, I mean, they're athletic, they're talented, they like to do that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of, you're right, it is a little bit riding a fine line of being aggressive and being over-aggressive. But I think that's one of the reasons we are successful and hard to play against is because we keep coming.
We're going to come to this side of the room, start at the end of second row.
Tommy Rustendog from The Athletic. Big picture coaching leadership question. Has the rise of NIL and the portal, has it changed the way you handle kids, whether it's coaching in practice or even the way maybe you speak about guys in the media?
Absolutely not. I'm a college basketball coach. Always going to be a college basketball coach. So I think that you're going to find over time that the coaches that continue to be good college basketball coaches and figure out how to navigate this NIL landscape are going to be the most successful. I think you're going to find that guys that come here and try to coach them like pros, I don't think that's going to work because they're a lot of them are 18, 19 years old. And you know what? Just because players are making money now doesn't mean they're any better than they were 5, 10, or 20 years ago. They're still the same players. And they still need to be developed if they want to get to the next level or be good in college. So, NIL is something that, on a day-to-day basis, we don't even talk about in our program. I'm literally coaching the same way I have for the last how many years. And I understand it's part of the game. I understand it's part of getting players to come to your school. But on a day-to-day basis in our culture, they're treated the same as they ever have. And I think that's important that they are treated that way. And because you know what? To be a pro is something you have to learn how to do. And there's lots of guys that think they know or skip steps to be a pro and they don't make it. So I'm not going to do that to our guys. I'm going to continue to give them the same foundation we always have.
We're going to stay on this side in the back row.
Jamal Murphy, Hoops HQ. Another Caleb Love question, just in terms of on the basketball court. What kind of development have you seen, from the beginning of his career or even just the last couple of years you've had him?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Caleb's really a dynamic player. I think that, people maybe get focused on his shooting or his efficiency sometimes. But, I mean, the guy's been really good in, playing in pick and rolls and making plays. He can make all the passes. He can finish at the rim. He can hit a floater. He can hit a three. He can hit a three off the dribble. He's just a really dynamic player. You can play him off the ball in pin downs. All those things. He can push the ball in the break. So, I just think he's just become more well-rounded over time, and I think the thing that's probably picked up the most is his playmaking. Something we really emphasize and are comfortable teaching how to do. And so, I mean, I'm comfortable when the ball's in his hands. Not that I expect perfection, but I know he has the ability to make things happen.
We'll stay here in the front row. Yep.
Rich Harris, Hoops Prospects. Coach, I'm going to go back to November 22nd when you played Duke. There was 2 areas where they, obviously beat you: 3-point percentage, rebounds, and you're not used to losing that rebound battle. Now, of course, Krivas played almost as much minutes in that game as Toby and Vasar played combined. So I would assume that you're confident that you can get on them on the boards better this time around. 3-point percentage, though. The team, a lot of guys are kind of not hitting at the same rate that they did last year. So is that the key to this game? Is it, or?
I mean, we'll figure out the keys when the ball goes up, but obviously rebounding is always something that's important for everybody, not just us. And, obviously we're a different team than when we played them, and we didn't play good that game. I'm sure they would say they're a different team, and I don't think Duke played that great that game. So, it's going to be interesting to see, how it looks when we get out there tomorrow. The rebounding is something we're always going to emphasize, and we know it's not going to be easy, but we're here for it. The 3-point percentage, like I said, the last 5 games or so, we've shot the ball better than we have all year. So I don't know. Maybe it's these sticky NCAA basketballs and soft rims. I don't know, but we seem to be shooting the ball pretty good right now and pretty confidently, and let's hope that continues tomorrow.
Next 2 questions will be here, front row and then second row.
Hi, Tommy. Bruce Pasco, the Daily Star in Arizona. I apologize I came in late if you already got asked this, but I was just wondering your thoughts, a lot of buzz about no Cinderellas in the Sweet 16 and that maybe NIL kind of killed the Cinderella or whatever. And you got a couple guys from mid-majors. I was wondering your thoughts on that. Is that a coincidence? Do you think there's maybe something to that trend?
I mean, if you're 4-5 at one point of the season, does it make you a Cinderella? I don't know. No? Okay. Hey, I don't know. It's hard. The tournament, it feels like it's just kind of a little bit different every year. And, one year, there's 3 or 4 teams from, maybe non-power conferences that break through. And then this year, there doesn't happen really to be any. And, I don't know if there's enough sample size yet to say this is NIL driven or just kind of how it broke this year. I don't know why there would be so much difference from last year to this year. And I don't know how many teams made it from last year. But, obviously, Trey Townsend was on a team that, at Oakland that I think they won their first game and lost their second, right? I think last year. Those stories still happen, but, to win that second game is really hard. And, Nate, our SID told me, we're only, 7 teams have made 3 out of the past 4 Sweet 16s, and we're one of them. So, it's really hard. It's really hard to win that second game and get to a Sweet 16. And once you're here, you got to take a breath, and then you got to come out and you got to be ready for the next fight. So I don't know. I don't have enough higher level view, Bruce, to maybe give you the answer you're looking for on that. I don't have a good soundbite on that one, but who knows? Next year it could be 4 teams that make it through. This year there's none, but it is what it is,
We'll go to second row here, and then we'll take last question from the other side.
Matt Rybaltowski with Forbes. Congratulations on a great season so far. There's multiple scandals, sports betting scandals in the NBA and college basketball right now. In your region, Arizona State was tarnished by the Headache Smith point shaving incident in the 90s. In your view, is there enough being done in terms of educational outreach and safeguards for the players to protect them there?
There's definitely enough being done, from the institution and the NCAA standpoint, but it's complicated. I think that the one thing with this sports betting is it's in your hands now. It's literally in your hand. And you have these kids on campuses that are living in dorms and their parents are sending them money, and it just gets complicated. And then there's some sick people out there that are taking advantage of those kids and stuff. So it's a little bit heartbreaking, but I don't know. There must be a reason they're allowing more gambling, and obviously the reason is because probably a lot of people are making money on it, besides the gamblers, I would imagine, the government and things like that. It's just complicated because, hey, you know what I want to do? I just want to coach hoops. And I want to hang out with my dudes, and I want my dudes to be normal. I don't want them to be getting crushed for missing a free throw that caused the point spread to go one way or another, But I guess that's the world we live in, and I really don't have much more time to think about it other than this, you asking me that question right now. But it definitely, it's something that does linger, and it's kind of sad. So hopefully we'll find a safer way for everybody.
Do last question in row 2. No, row 2, into row 2.
Jason Shear, Wildcat Authority. Was there a point earlier in the season after the struggles or during the struggles, a practice or a game where you feel things kind of clicked and it started to turn, or was it more kind of a process?
No, I mean, it's always a process. I mean, development is always a process. It's not an event. I knew we were a good team, and I knew we were going to be good. We just had to get through it. And I never had any doubts that we'd be here right now. And you know, I told myself, I don't even know how many times in my own head, we're getting to the Sweet 16. You know, no matter how we slice it or dice it, we're going to get to the Sweet 16 and figure it out from there. And so we're here. And you know what? We're excited to try to take the next step. So for me, there never was any doubts. It was just a matter about rolling up our sleeves and getting to the work. But I can't think, Jason, of like an event that was like, okay, you know, I mean, I just always believed because I knew we were good.
All right, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, guys.
We'll have the players up here in a minute or so. All right, we have the Arizona players here. A reminder, the Arizona locker room also is open for another 13 minutes or so. All right, we have Caleb Love, we have KJ Lewis, we have Trey Townsend. We're going to go straight into questions for the student athletes. We'll, once again, if you have a question, just raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. Please give name and affiliation before asking your question. So questions for Caleb, KJ, or Trey. We'll start in the back, and then we'll go to the third row. From this side. Let's go from this side. Back row.
Jamal Murphy, Hoops HQ. Caleb, you know, you've had a storied career, 2 big-time programs. I just wanted you to take it back to the beginning at North Carolina, and now, you know, your 5th season here at Arizona. Can you kind of describe where you've, you know, where, you know, the journey for you, like what's going through your mind in terms of the journey you've been through, now being at this point?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been a journey, and you know, my journey has been a lot of adversity, a lot of ups and downs, and everything in between. But you know, I think it's made me who I am as a person and a player. I've grown so much over the course of my, you know, college career, not only on the court but off the court. I've learned so much, and you know, I wouldn't trade it for anything. But you know, we're here now, and you know, I thank God for, you know, keeping me, and you know, I trust in Him that, you know, in every situation that, you know, He's gonna have me covered.
We're going to go to the third row. We'll use the microphone on the opposite side, this one.
Ryan Usbaum, Red Hawk Sports Network. So Coach in his open, when he was just up here, said a lot about growth throughout the season through wins and losses. For everybody specifically, how do you guys think you've grown from early in the season in November to this point right now?
Why don't we start with Trey, and then we'll go with KJ for that one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've gone through a lot of adversity, you know, throughout the season. Had our ups and downs early on, and I think that's helped us learn how to, you know, finish games and battle through that. I mean, it's easy to kind of fold down when you're expected to, you know, win a lot of games right off the beginning of the season. Obviously, we didn't do that. You know, we were 4-5 at one point, but we were able to turn that around once conference play started. And I give a lot of credit to the, you know, the Big 12 Conference for preparing us for this tournament as well. Just the physicality of everything, and you know, we just never lost faith in our guys. Coaches never lost faith in us, and we just believed that, you know, we were meant to be here, and you know, I think that's been shown, you know, end of February into March, and hopefully, you know, and onward.
And KJ?
You know, to piggyback off what Trey said, you know, just going through a bunch of adversity earlier in the year, but you know, nobody in our circle or in our program folded. You know, we kept belief, and we knew what type of team we had. And it was just a matter of time of us putting the pieces together and figuring out, you know, what worked for us. And again, you know, we went into conference play with a 0-0 mindset, and you know, ultimately, you know, we got better out of it.
We're going to stay on that side. We're going to go to the front row.
For Caleb, Aiden Wool, GoAZCats.com. What do you remember about that shot that you hit against Duke in 2022 in the Final Four?
I made the shot. I mean, that really has no, relevance to, this game coming up. So, I just want to focus on, the game plan that we have set, and, I want my focus to be, with this group.
We'll stay in the front row. We'll come from the opposite microphone. Yep, in the middle.
Rich Harris, Hoops Prospects. This is to all the guys. Basically, you played Duke once before, and Caleb, obviously you're familiar with them, not this particular team as much, but your front line has changed, basically, because Vasar started in that game. But what do you guys each think is going to be the key to winning this game?
We'll start with Caleb, and then we'll go down the row. KJ and then Trey.
Just executing our game plan, the physicality of the game, being unaffected by any outside sources, whether that's refs or turnovers or anything like that. We just gotta play Arizona basketball to the best of our ability. We gotta play together. Our offense gotta click and things like that. And so, and in our defense, I think we've grown in that area throughout the whole year, and I think that's gonna separate us.
I think just executing the game plan on both sides of the ball, also being physical, matching their physicality, and then rebounding is going to be a big key for the victory, and then obviously taking care of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, basketball is a game of runs, and both teams are going to have highs and both teams are going to have lows, and I think being able to stay in the middle of that, not get too high, not get too low, and understand that those runs are going to come for both sides. I think, whichever team can handle that the best, but also, obviously executing the game plan and things like that. But, basketball, as well as a lot of sports, is mainly just a thing of runs and just being able to weather the storm and appreciate the highs and, execute the game plan. So, yeah.
We'll stay here in the front row on this side.
Hey, Caleb, Adam Zagoria from NJ.com. How you doing? I know you said you're focused on this group, but you have had some big games against Duke in your career. What do you think led to your success against them in the past, and what are the challenges this Duke team presents defensively?
I just think that, just me not being afraid of the moment, and, me trying to, impose my will, like my, kind of like St. Louis swagger to the game, and, I'm me being from St. Louis, I'm not afraid of anything, anybody, and so I think just me, like channeling that, my inner St. Louis in me. But this Duke team does, they're physical, they're long, they're athletic and things like that. So we had to play kind of mind games and things like that to create advantages for ourselves and on both ends of the floor. And like Trey said, we got to match the physicality of the game, and I think we'll have success if we do that.
We're going to stay on this side, standing over there. Oh, sorry, yes, second row, and then we'll have the stand.
This is for Caleb Bashtai with Carolina Blitz. A lot was made of your post-game interview after your win against Oregon. There was a pause when they asked you about this matchup next round. What was going through your mind? I feel like you kind of held back. You wanted to say a little bit more than what you said in that moment.
Yeah, I didn't want to give them no fuel or, bulletin board material. So, I just wanted to focus on, what this group got to do and, not give them anything that, they can, feed off of.
Okay, we're staying on this side, standing over here.
Mike Solarte, Spectrum News 1. Caleb, now that you're less than 20 or about 24 hours away, you look and you see you're playing Duke now for, if my math's correct, the 10th time in your career. Is it one of those things where in your mind you're thinking, Duke again? Do I really have to play Duke again? And you've been successful with them, but it's one of those things that, are you getting tired of seeing these guys?
Nah, not at all. I mean, it's the next game, and I'm loving the guys that I'm going in the battle with, and we've been so locked in, since we got here, since we found out, we got to play Duke, and we're not shying away from anything, and we're not running away from the fact that this is another game, and this is a game that we have to win.
We do have a couple of calls on the Zoom. I'm going to go to them. I'm going to go to KCUB AM Wildcats Radio. So they should be on. You should be allowed to talk. Go ahead, KCUB.
Yeah, David Kelly, Wildcats Radio 1290. First for Trey. Trey, you've kind of been at the forefront of the team over the last week. You spoke for the team on Selection Sunday. You were at the same press conference last week and then today. What's it meant for you, even though you're the fifth leading scorer on this team, to be in a position to carry the message for the Wildcats over the course of the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it's an honor that, my coaching staff, but my teammates, believe in me, as a player, but just as a person as well. I came in here a fifth-year guy, just trying to bring a level, of leadership, maturity, just being an older guy, especially being in this tournament. I was fortunate enough to play in it last year with Oakland. So, I was able to learn a lot from that experience, and just trying to bring all that, to this journey with these guys, just trying to pass the messages along, like just enjoy this opportunity in this moment, because so many teams, play their whole season just to get here and don't even make it. So the fact we're here, just appreciate it all and appreciate being with this one team, because, you're only going to be with this one team for this one season. So I've just been trying to pass that message along and, be as much of a leader as I can, even though, whatever I am on the scoring chart or whatever it is, I feel I can bring, any sort of leadership and mentorship to the team.
Okay, we also have Chris Brown from AZ Bandcat Sports. I'm going to allow Chris to speak. Chris, you should be able to talk now.
Hey guys, Chris Brown, AZ Bandcat Sports. Obviously a big time matchup in the program history in the 2011 Sweet 16 between Arizona and Duke. And then more recently, the home and home series the last 2 years. Just talk about what it means to be facing Duke again in the Sweet 16. That's for anybody.
Why don't we start with Trey and then we'll go KJ.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of relate that back to, my last answer is really any opportunity to play in this tournament I look at as a special thing. Obviously, two historic programs playing it at this, stage of the tournament is such a special thing, but I just look at it as, every single game, no matter who you're playing, is such a special opportunity. So, I'm fortunate for that. Obviously, the lights are going to be bright in the game, but, as Caleb was saying, it is just the next game. But obviously, we understand it's a special opportunity, and, there's a lot of significance to it.
And KJ?
I think Trey hit it right on the head, and Caleb as well. It's just another game for us to get, in the way to get to our goal. But obviously, we're super excited for the opportunity. And, what happened in the past stays in the past. We're just looking forward, to tomorrow and then going out there and playing Arizona basketball.
Really quick, if I have a sec.
Yeah, go
there was
ahead.
A lot of talk last week about Tommy going back to the Pacific Northwest. Have you guys had a chance to talk to teammates Tobe and Jaden? They're obviously a lot closer to home from the East Coast. Have they shared any excitement about being able to play closer to home with you guys?
Yeah, for sure. And we know that's a factor. Them being close to home, we want to take care of our brothers. When we know, they're gonna come out with the ultimate energy, the ultimate excitement, playing in front of probably a lot of their family, and so we want to take care of our brothers by, giving it our all and making sure that they, they win in front of their family.
We'll do one final question right here in row 2.
Vashti Hurt with Carolina Blitz again. Caleb, you're not familiar with a lot of these guys on the team, but you are familiar with Therese Proctor. Can you talk about that matchup with him and some of the battles you've had in past years?
Yeah, obviously he's been hot from 3, and he's a great defender. And so, we just gotta, handle that with care as far as, running them off the line and, making them do other things. Shifting the ball to other guys that, we want with the ball in their hands and things like that. So, he's a great player. We've obviously had, matchup after matchup, and, I'm just looking forward to tomorrow.
All right, fellas, we appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.